the Jive is live, another episode. I hope you are having a great day. We got some funny things to say and do. I wanna sing for you. I'm gonna have it Smyth on too. Another episode for you. How you doing today, audience? I am so happy to be doing another episode of the podcast to close out August. The leaves are changing. I know it feels pretty weird for me to see the cycle once again. Every year it feels different. The universe begins with the spring and it comes back again. And I just love seeing this transformation of the leaves in upstate New York. Here in the Hudson Valley, I am recording from my usual spot for Joe's Java Jive. And we got an unusual guest today. Someone who's used to being a character and I've seen play many different parts in their life, from being an impressionist, a different sort of performer, a stand-up. I have a friend in Ed, and I can't wait for him to join on the podcast here. We are going to be performing together at the Way Out Variety Show, August 30th at Stellar Yoga. So that's going to be when we're releasing this. It's coming right into that time. And I just can't wait to see what Ed brings to the table. It's always something different, and I always love whatever is brought to the show. So yeah, I'm here, I'm rambling, I'm cleaning up a lot today, this office that I usually dispatch from. Got to go through it. You got to do, just like you do spring cleaning, you got to do end of the summer cleaning, getting all the camping gear out. I took our pop-up tent, just kind of on its last legs, and it became a cover to my porch. So that's nice. In the middle of rain, building your own shelter. You know, sometimes you don't always have shelter from the storm, but we do have tents. Sometimes you have tarps. So that felt pretty cool to rig that out there. It might be a permanent structure from now on. Yeah, it's been an amazing summer, and I am also, dealing with some family, some loss. I want to shout out to Serena's family, my partner, and their Aunt Lisa, who passed on. So this episode is dedicated to that, Lisa and the family of Serena. So moving towards a world where we make each other laugh, make each other smile, and help each other in our journey to become the best versions of ourselves that we can. It's possible. This life is just getting started for many of us, and I don't know about you, but I've been feeling a real shift in the culture, in where we're at right now. I'm liking the new energy that I'm seeing in a lot of ways, but there's also so many ways to make it better. And I really think more than ever that this life is a reflection of where we're at. So the more we have fun and create little Zion paradises within our world, within our homes, the better it will be for everyone around us. And hopefully the rest of the world will start to reflect the changes that we're all going through. For those of you who maybe you're feeling alone, like you need a friend, Jolly Joe is always here. If you need somebody to talk to, I am one DM away and always willing to talk to someone in need, or just someone who's feeling a little lonely. You need to chat, reach out. So with all that said, as you are approaching this new chapter, make sure you take the small step towards pumpkin spice. You really want to go head first in this time of the year. It's autumn. It's a time to get all up in that fall apple, pumpkin, these incredible flavors. Football, fire. There's so many things about this time of year that it just really is one of my favorites. I'm excited for it. I don't know about you, but the heat is nice, but I like when it gets cold. I like living in New York for that reason. A couple other announcements before we get into the show today. Besides the variety show, which may have already came out, when you're listening to this, we're also moving towards September 13th through the 15th, The Children and It at the Muse in Rosendale. Come step forward into a strange world where all of your wishes come true. The Samiad is a sand fairy deep beneath the sand, looking to rise up and speak to the children who are digging and asking it for wishes, which is the Samiad's true nature, to be kind of like a genie, kind of like a fairy godparent. You name it, the Samiad grants it. But at sundown, all of my wishes turn to stone. Well, you can see for yourselves the true story of the Samiad and the children in it, directed by Anika Winters, and it's coming to Rosendale this September. Tickets are on Eventbrite. We have the 13th, 14th at 8 p.m. and the 15th at 1 p.m. Folks, you're going to want to see it. It's going to be a lots of fun. I've been working on this for a while. It's an adaptation of Edith Nesbit's The Children in It, a children's story, and we have made it so much fun and are carrying in the same nature of the story, which is really cool. And it's a perfect close to summer play and start of fall. So I hope some of you will come see that in person and say hello. And then also, before that or after that, September, we've got some really cool things going on with Happenstancery. So stay tuned to that. My improv troupe is going to be doing some really fun performances coming up. So you're not going to want to miss what's coming on in September. Once this play is done, we're going to do more and more open practices. But also, we are going to be doing a show at this backyard barbecue place that is really cool. It's with our friends from Bombshell Improv, and it's a whole bunch of fun. It's actually going to be at this incredible winery. Join us for a night of improv comedy at the back stone at the Raspberry Fields Farm in Marlborough. So indie night, improv comedy, and I am so excited about this. Happenstancery has had a great run of shows, a lot of fun things coming up, but we have really enjoyed these kinds of opportunities and are so excited to see it continue to grow. So that one is actually going to be September 27th, and it's at 7:30 p.m. So big night that Friday. I'm looking forward to it tremendously, and we hope that to see you there. It's going to be with Too Much Too Soon, Happenstancery, and Bombshell. Tickets are on Eventbrite, the backyard indie improv night. That's enough of the announcements, though. Back to the real world here. It's a crazy time. You're sitting there wondering what's going to happen with the election. We're all wondering what's going to happen with our planet. Maybe most of us are not. A lot of us are gearing up for fall and trying to make sure that you stay strong in the wintertime when getting those soups, getting those groceries, finding ways to bring people into your home and play music, make each other laugh, put a show together, make a short film. Last year, it was so nice around this time of year. Just getting excited about film festivals, haunted houses, and all of the fun stuff that fall has to offer. You know, what I really love the most, though, is that feeling when you're wearing a sweater and it's cold outside and you look up and there's wind and it's like, ooh, maybe I need a coat for this walk. I do more walking in the fall. Honestly, it's there. I hit a threshold in the summer where it's like, oh god. But I'm excited. I'm working out. I'm trying to exercise a lot more, and have been doing daily walks, daily movements. I feel myself changing. I'm believing it really. So on track for my goal. I don't know if I even told this story really on here, but after the Hill People Comedy Fest, it was amazing to do that performance with our guest of episode 19, Marissa Caruso was the host and producer of that. We had a surprise opener, a surprise closer, really, that I opened for. Amy Schumer got to see my set at the Hill People Comedy Fest. So that was a lot of fun and was a mind-blowing thing to that she came on right after me. So I closed out the class, led by the incredible Mia Jackson, another comedian I hope to have on the podcast someday. And then Amy Schumer came on up right after. So that was amazing. Hill People Comedy Fest was a really good time, and I'm glad to catch you guys up on all of that. And I think it's comedy, which is what brings me together with my next guest here, who's someone that I've seen in the area. You know, we've performed together, and I've always been a big fan of their unique style. I think it's time we bring on today's guest for Joe's Java Jive, Ed Smyth. How you doing today?
Hi, Joe. Hi, Jumpin' Jester, Jolly Joe. I know there's a lot of alliterations there, aren't there?
It's Jolly Joe Jester's Joe's Java Jive. Yes.
Oh, so darn close. You want to start again?
No, you've got it.
Hey,
I love
Jolly.
where Jolly Joe Jumping Jack Flash Jester. No, I'm a big believer
Right.
in the JJJ, and
Yep.
that is the root of what it's all about here. And you
Yeah, sure.
are
Just
Ed.
call me enunciating erudite Ed.
Okay, enunciating erudite Ed. What is an
Erudite.
erudite?
Oh, someone's who erudite. You know, they're articulate and knowledgeable.
You are. You are. You your last show that I saw you do had some unique history and involved there in one of your
Well,
bits.
well, you know, you had a classy venue. I had to step up.
Yes, absolutely. You know, Ed, you are always bringing some unique stuff, and I love what you do. Don't get it twisted. It's
Thanks.
Ed Smyth, not Smith, folks. Smyth.
Why did
Tell
I
us about
appreciate
your
it?
name.
Oh, well, just briefly, it's a Gaelic carryover from Ireland. Who knows
Nice.
why or how it got kept that way, but most people pronounce it with the lowercase I. But, you know, I always assure them as long as I know you're talking to me, I'll answer back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, right off the top of your Ed, I'm so glad to have you here.
sure.
Always
I'm
bringing
glad you
in.
invited me.
Yeah, it's amazing. I
Yeah,
will always invite you, and we are excited to perform together at the Way Out Variety Show that's coming
it's
up in
way out, man.
Way Out. You gonna bring some Way
Yeah.
Out stuff?
Yep. Yep. I'm glad to be there with you guys. And Happenstancery is going to be doing some stuff, right?
Yeah, so this one particularly, it's going to be more of, solo endeavors. There's a big group of, performers, and then me and Anika Winters, who are from Happenstancery, are also doing a little skit from our play that's coming up that I was just talking to the folks here, the children
Oh,
in
okay.
it. Yes, we're going to have a little less improv, more written material for once, so that
Oh,
should be
okay.
fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be nice. You know, it's interesting the improv bits that you guys do.
Oh, excuse me. Let me turn that off. What's interesting?
Uh, the improv bits that you folks do that you incorporate some ad lib music to it. You're
We
playing
just
the
had some in the podcast here.
yeah. Well, that's apropos. So that's kind of unique. I haven't seen that normally in an improv group where
Yeah,
you're
thanks
putting
for
some.
noticing that.
Oh, absolutely, sure, because it makes it more dynamic and engaging. You're putting multiple layers on the scene that you're creating. You guys do all what's it called? Short form improv, right?
We have mainly stuck to the short form style of little bits and constantly moving around. Even when we have like a 20-minute show, we've tend to separate it into a few of our favorite things and a couple of different bits in it. But you're so right. We noticed a while ago that I'm a music man. I play different instrument on every episode of the podcast as the opening. And it's like, why not have all of the greatest shows and movies have this underscore that comes in, and it adds a great thing to our senses to have that stimulation.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah,
got
in
some
the movie
of that.
world, it's called leitmotif. Where you have the
Yeah,
underlying music to set the tone.
swelling, and it really tells you how to feel. And I think
Yeah.
when you're on a stage, it really, they build off of each other so well, and we're very proud to be like a musical improv group, happenstancery. And we love when we get to do stuff with really funky comedians like you. Like, I think we're a
Oh,
pair.
well, yeah, it's always enjoyable being with you guys. Yeah, it's the same kind of approach with the audience where you're asking them to be engaged and to let their sensibilities settle out, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Where
something
they're not
that
gonna, we're
is
not going to try to
interesting.
analyze it. Why is he playing guitar when they're supposed to be in a bakery?
Yeah, yeah. What's going
They
on
let it
here?
flow.
It kind of makes you suspend another layer of disbelief.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. And that's what that adds to the creative element. So people who enjoy that creative flow then get into it. And
Yeah.
of course, it's a dynamic of attracting the kind of people who want to see it and then delivering that kind of thing that they want to see.
Yes. Oh, that's really what it's all about. And you are someone who does it very uniquely. I'm excited to talk today with you
Oh,
about your
okay.
style. Yeah.
Okay.
When did you start doing comedy, Ed? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, this is the second go around. I actually had been doing, I started out right out of school, college, I should say, performing with I guess you would call it a sketch group. We did a little bit of improv games, but it was normally sketches. And then when the group broke up after 2 years, I did about 4.5 years of stand up after that, nearly five. But adulthood gets in the way along with the commensurate bills. And, I came to the conclusion that there's, there's no pride in being a starving artist.
Yeah.
So after, I think it was, I calculated a 28-year hiatus. The calling came back again. I had to do it. It was one of those things where I was just compelled to start doing it again. So then now I'm on the seventh year of this second go around, this rebirth, this renaissance.
Yes. Oh, wow. And whereabouts are you stationed? Because you seem to perform all over New York State.
Oh well, I'm just outside of Troy. What I try to do is make the travels to different areas where, particularly where, of course, where that I'm finding people and venues that are a great fit. So the mid Hudson Valley has always been fun because it tends to be kind of more cosmopolitan types of audiences, people that like the kind of things that we do.
Yeah.
So jeepers, yeah, I'm trying. I have to think now, because you folks are in Rosendale, and over the years, I've gone to different venues in Saugerties, Kingston. Yeah, I met Dagan. Oh, now it's been about 6 years ago. Wow. We were both doing an open mic that I can't think of his name. Frank Marquette. Murder Cafe.
Yeah.
What it called? Murder Cafe, is it?
For sure, the
That
murder mystery. Yeah,
Murder Mystery.
they do work
Yeah,
here in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Hudson Valley.
Right. He had a like an arts center um in Rhinebeck. That's what it was. And that's Dagan and I had separately had gone out to do that open mic. And then there's a place out in Utica, the Tram Cafe, which is a real hipster. type of atmosphere. So I make regular trips out there, and I try to produce a show once a year there as well. So that's coming to fruition for next month.
Oh,
So
nice.
years ago, eons ago, I used to drive out a lot to Western Massachusetts to Northampton, and again, kind of a hip, educated type of community.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of going to where the audience is, or business parlance, go where your customers are.
Yeah, that's it. And you find people who've never seen you before, and within a few moments of seeing Ed Smyth, you're brought into your world. It's almost like Pee Wee Herman or Andy Kaufman. These folks, you really do bring
Yeah.
people to another level of consciousness.
Oh well, I appreciate that. I know that if you're true to your art, you're supposed to stick to what you do, and then eventually people will find you. But then there's also a pragmatism to it, is that if you're really obtuse, that no matter what, there isn't going to be many people that really like what you do, which is okay
Yeah,
if you want to be obtuse.
yeah,
If you
absolutely.
want to make if you want to make money doing this, then you have to think about a little more pragmatic approach. So,
Yeah,
that's part of it. I do kind of weigh those two counterpoints. I wouldn't say they're in conflict, but there's certainly two contrasts, between being appealing versus being really creative and artistic.
absolutely.
And the
Yeah,
closer you can bring it together, then you're achieving that level of success.
yeah, and the more you can kind of fine tune some of your bits, and they say, all right, this is a part of my deck of cards here. I can always go to these finished pieces. Then I've always heard the story, and myself as a comic, of you have to keep going up and trying new things.
Well, yeah, I can't wouldn't be presumptuous to relate to what you folks do, but at least then from my point of view is that you have to be cognizant of your audience, and then just provide whatever you're doing that they can connect to or enjoy. So, well, I can give you a simple and recent example. Was last week I have been doing, well, I should say Ted, an impressionist, has been portraying a Bad Bunny, listening to Bad Bunny on a Bad Bunny ski slope. And for a younger crowd, they're hip to who Bad Bunny is, so it connects.
Yeah,
But it wouldn't work in an older audience of
yeah,
60-year-olds.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's and you
they
you
probably
good
they
at
would
reading the
chuckle, but
crowd.
they wouldn't relate to who Bad Bunny is, so it's not as impactful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
and
there's an
even
example where
some of
you pick.
you pick your bits for the
Yeah,
audience that you're in.
I would think it's the same way with you folks. Is that however you're setting a scene, you that I would think at some level you're cognizant of whatever pop references or any type of cultural or historic references you're going to be using.
For sure. For sure. It's
I would
always
think that
dependent. And if a little kid is in the room, we've catered to them. And at one of our recent shows in a diner, the kids actually got up and on stage with us and started playing
yeah.
dinosaurs. And it really does have an impact on, because all of these kinds of shows, whether it's comedy or improv or theater, the audience is a big piece of the puzzle, the ingredients here. I
Oh
think the
yeah.
audience is everything.
Oh yeah. Well, no one wants to work to an audience that's sitting kind of glum faced or confused. But the key is then really the artistic, if you will, I don't know if I'd say genius, but the artistic nugget, the glint of connectivity is being confident in delivering what you're doing. And it was a great quote that someone shared to me years ago that I keep in mind all the time, is from George Carlin, who said that doing great stand up is like being a professional taxi driver. People will go for the ride if they're confident they know where you're going.
Yeah. Yep. As if they're confident you know where you're going, you can
Yeah.
take them anywhere, and
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
sit
So even
back and
if they're not
relax.
really connecting, to the references, but at least then they're sticking with you.
They know you're headed to the right place, and
Yeah,
that's it.
and
Your
that happens.
confidence.
I recall one time watching Emo Phillips on David Letterman, and he did his routine on being in the theater and someone asking, "Is this seat saved?" Are you familiar with that bit?
I don't know if I've seen that emo Phillips. Is this seat saved?
Yeah, he said, "I'm at the theater, and someone comes up to me and says, 'Is that seat saved?'" And I said, "Well, considering since Saint Thomas Aquinas said not even animals have souls, it seems hardly relevant that an inanimate object like a theater seat would even have the ability to be saved by our Lord and Savior."
I love
and
that.
and the whole audience at Letterman was just dead quiet. And I thought to myself, "Yeah, I know that feeling."
Yep. Yeah. That's so particular, such a style and a punny thing, and
Right.
if
So,
you and
then
I were in
like
the audience, would be laughing.
yeah. So you have to then, you have to admire that someone like that, like with Nemo, he just keeps rolling. And so, there's always like a, I always think of it like there's like a verbal bailout that some people who do absurdist stand up do. So emo would just go, "Well, or and Judy Tenuta, her little tagline was, 'It could happen,'
It
and
could happen.
yeah, it could happen, yeah. And
That's great.
Gilbert Gottfried, if the audience fell silent, would would double down and go, 'All the more frightening because it actually happened.'"
Yep. Yeah.
So they all had their little visual hooks on how to connect on to the next thing they're going, because the last thing didn't catch in many writers.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that you're a master of that, because, there's something when the bit has reached its conclusion that you do, and it's become kind of a catchphrase. Tell the folks what you do is
Oh
at
well,
least Ted the
Well,
Impressionist.
Ted Ted dwells in the awkward silence, and then he just goes, "Okay."
Okay. It's so great.
And so that's the notion, is that the audience is recognizing is, oh, it doesn't matter, he's just rolling along.
Oh, it's so genius, Ted, and Ed, because really
Thanks.
that's like what a lot of comics struggle with, is being okay with there being little, or comment. I don't like when a comic will comment on the reaction if it's not enough, or, oh, you guys didn't work. It sometimes can
Oh
work,
yeah, yeah.
but
They personalize it because they're usually they typically, especially if it's a bit where they normally get a laugh, and then and they do their punchline and it falls silent, is then they'll react to it. And the good
yeah.
ones will just react good naturedly to it in a way that says to the audience, "Well, it looks like really screwed up telling you that bit."
Yeah. Oh, you don't like that. I must have upset some people here. Or
Well, they're turning it back on themselves, so that it's not the first thing. The first rule is never blame the audience if they're not laughing. It's not their fault.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your fault,
And but
and
yeah, so
pointed it
to your
directly.
yeah. So to your point, more amateur folks would personalize it and go, "Oh, that was a funny bit," or something, where they kind of stigmatize the audience for not reacting the way they were expecting. But you just have to roll with it. Audiences are an organic creature, and the old cliches do ring true. There, no two audiences are the same.
Yeah.
So, and because laughter is a social, what do you call it, a social reaction,
Yeah,
that
impulse, yeah,
that even if you find something funny, if no one else in the room does, you're not going to laugh quite as loud,
for sure.
because you're just going to stand out. I do, and it's funny. Yeah, like sometimes I watch you guys, and I'll laugh out loud at something that strikes me funny, and people
Yeah.
turn around, "What?"
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I'm less self-conscious about it, because to me is, I've seen a lot of different things over the years, and so when something strikes me as genuinely funny, I don't have to stifle it. I think it's funny. On the other hand, there's things that an audience can be laughing at, and I could be looking and saying to myself, nah.
Yeah,
So it's
not
all
my
in
best.
the viewer, right?
Well, one
So
thing
it's
that
the
it
same.
that it really works for is, allowing the laugh to have its full effect, like to get the most juice out of it. I
Oh
don't think
yeah,
a lot of people do that, and I tend to sometimes just bulldoze over the laugh
do
and
you?
go up and rush.
It's really hard, Joe, isn't it? You have to recognize that if a laugh is coming to you, just like a wave on an ocean or a lake, it's coming. That you have to recognize it and let it roll over and simmer before you move on to your next line. And it's a delicate balance because if you wait too long, then it's clear you're milking.
Yeah. You have the
But the
balance
audience
of just
appreciates it.
saying it.
Yeah, but the audience appreciates it if you're giving them pause, because then you're reflecting back to them is right. You like I'm enjoying myself. I said it. You like it. We're all reveling in that instant moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, the most greatest comedians in the world. They knew how to do that, and especially when you think about the kind of the silent movie uh, comedians that were able to do that, just that right kind of pause, even though they had to hear the laughter in their head because obviously they were in front of a camera.
Wow. That's so
Yeah,
true.
so I think like Buster Keaton is a great example of that. He just has the deadpan reactions to things that elicit a laugh, and it's clear that he knows he's got that timing in his head, how long to do that before he makes his next gesture. So I'm sure that was from just decades of doing vaudeville since he was a baby that he had that talent.
Yeah, he's the one. I heard someone telling me recently that he was so physical as a kid that he was like the rag doll. Think one of
Mhm.
my friends that they would literally use him as like the human mop upside down as a kid, and he would be the mop, but they're using his hair to clean the floor on stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I understand that that's how he got his nickname because it was the slang of the day is that if you took a rough tumble, it was called a buster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You slipped a buster, and that's now a great
yeah,
name for
yeah,
dogs for any
yeah.
family
I remember
listening. We had
reading
a
his biography. How yeah, I mean that's funny you mentioned that, Joe. His biography where his older brothers and his parents would just toss him around, which would get a which. Oh, I know. There was one particular gag where he would dress up to look just like his father. He'd be like a 3 foot tall old man, and then and then he get tossed around on the stage, and the audience would love it. And he just learned how to take tumbles without getting hurt.
That's so amazing. What a
Yeah,
figure. And you're so right. They had to hear the laughter in their head. And that's
yeah,
something to consider when we're making content at home or doing stuff on camera. And I'm going to be directing a comedy this summer, this fall,
okay.
actually. And yeah, you have to kind of work out the timing of that and allow for those moments.
Mhm.
It's
Oh
important in
yeah.
life.
Well, yeah. So, like anything, like just like in professional athletics, if you're throwing a baseball or kicking a football or hitting a hockey puck, you have to have the eye-hand coordination and timing to make it move the way you want to, and it's no different from being on stage.
Yeah. Absolutely. And were you also like we mentioned Buster's upbringing. Did you have kind of a little bit of a show tunes life growing up, or was that all new to you and after college?
Not necessarily. I enjoyed goofy and fun stuff when I was a kid, but I did do theater. In fact, I recall distinctly high school theater to me was kind of abstract and boring. I just
Yeah.
didn't. I just never. It never would appeal to me to be up on stage doing what's a typical high school musical? Oh my gosh,
Grease.
Guys and Dolls. Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't. I just it was foreign to me. As you're asking, it would be the same thing if you asked me, would I want to be doing horse dancing? And
Yeah.
don't know a horse. I don't know the first thing about horses. That's the same way with doing high school theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't until yeah, I mean, enjoy. It's funny, is because it's almost like knowing how how funny things are on print or on TV,
Yeah,
and that to me was appealing to do myself. But starting off from scratch, I guess, in that sense, is no, I didn't know the first thing about performing up on in front of a live audience. I suppose that's kind of equates to why I struggled so
yeah,
much a long time ago. So yeah, so now that you ask that, if I'm being philosophical about it, is yeah, just like anything in life, if you learn through a hard knocks, you finally figure it out. You figure out what not to do and what to do.
exactly.
So yeah, that takes time.
Yeah, and it's a great thing that you do. You have a lot of discipline with it. We've been
Huh,
at different shows and over the last couple of years, and you're always,
yeah.
if you're available, you're always down for it. How do you
Oh,
balance the work and life, balance there for you?
well, and it's like anything is unless you're born with a trust fund, you have to work. So yeah, kind of balance things out over time and and try to keep your time harmonized. At times, I do kind of live and plan things hour by hour, let alone day by day.
Yeah,
And and then I try to make sure that it's a healthy balance, so I'm not getting too wrapped up because this being a performer, just like any other job, you can get burned out or get frustrated at the tediousness of what you're doing. So you have to take a mental break from that as well.
yeah.
So not too bad. Just I don't have any hobbies.
Besides comedy and you don't have
I don't
any. There's
have time.
nothing you like to do.
No, no, that's probably I wouldn't call it a deficiency, but an absence of having anything that would say, "Oh, yeah, I like to do X in my spare time." I don't have any time for X,
Yeah,
but this is a fun thing to do. So
yeah.
I
When you're
suppose
an
you might
artist like
say
you
that
are,
performing is a hobby because until if and when you get paid enough to live on it, you're an amateur stage of doing an amateur level of work, even though
yeah,
you're treating yourself as a professional.
for sure. Until
I
it's
suppose if you're
recognized.
a railroad hobbyist is great at building model railroads. They just no one pays them to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's hard for people to understand. But when you have this like artist mindset of I need to give this craft my all while I can in
Yeah.
this life,
Yep.
I really want to see myself become as good as I can because I
Yeah.
I have things I want to do. That's what it comes down to. And you just want to be better
Oh yeah.
next time than you were the time before.
Oh yeah. Certainly. Yeah. It's like any passion in life, and it's always a matter of degrees of how much effort you can put into it, and what's the return on that investment in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this business, like in most performance arts, the world of every single person that does what you do, it's a giant, wide pyramid. There's a lot of us there in the middle and lower tiers, and even on the upper tiers, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah. That is a
So
great visual.
yeah, so and you just then for me, thinking about then how you want to visualize what you're doing, how you're going to do it, and who's going to pay you to do it.
Yeah. And
And
that
then
is
you always get your breaks, of
possible.
course. Yeah, as much as your heart aches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those moments when you do get paid doing comedy, there's nothing that feels quite as good as that. It's better than any other kind of payday when it's from making people laugh.
Yeah, well, and for you guys, I mean, there's 5 of you altogether, right?
Yeah, we have kind of a rotational thing. It's like Steely Dan. Like I've kind of started that troupe in 2020 when my mom passed away. It was a
Okay.
hard time. We were in the middle of COVID and she passed
Mhm.
on and I had just gotten done doing a kids play and I was like I'm going to start a group that is free that is for mental health for all of us during this crazy time to get together and laugh. Let's put on face masks and meet outdoors or
Oh,
get a social distance and we kind of rode the waves of COVID and then has been a free weekly group that as people come in and they want to get involved, and we do these free classes every Thursday, and some people are like, I want to be a part of this. I'm going to come back every week and perform. And the group
Okay.
has grown and grown. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really impressed that you were able to uh, set up some dates down at the Producers Club in the city.
Yeah, that was really cool. And they love having us so much that I think they one of the women from Mic'd Up New York, we're gonna talk about having our own little variety show in the city. So I will definitely when that happens, we'll be promoting that and getting you up there for sure because
Oh, well, I appreciate
it's
it.
a nice
I've
club.
been to the Producers Club a couple of times. They do a series of open mics on various dates, Thursdays and Sundays in particular. They go one
Yeah,
after each other. So you don't even have to roam around the city. You could just stick around and do 3 open mics in a row.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's convenient, of course, presuming how you guys travel down there. I take the train, and it's only about I clocked it. It's like a 24-minute walk from Penn Station.
Yep, that's it. It's a really simple place to go,
Yep.
and they love us. We get great audiences down there, and
Oh, that's great.
it's always fun for us. I think we love thinking of ourselves as a like you, a traveling group that can someday. I dream of having a school bus, Joe's Java Jive on the road, and pulling out a stage and a coffee maker and saying, "Hey, we're here at the festival," or we're driving around doing the theater troupe
Oh,
thing.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a band of wandering minstrels. I was gonna use.
that's it, man. I think that's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's intriguing and certainly encouraging that you're getting that kind of reception in the city when I'm sure there are at least a dozen improv and sketch groups in and
Yeah,
around Manhattan and Brooklyn and Queens.
for sure. And we've had people every time we perform, people say, I don't even usually like improv, or you guys are so, bring so much energy and have such a different kind of vibe about you. And we talk often about kind of abstract things, or we'll go into, we're not afraid to get into it. So we are just going with the flow and the chemistry of us meeting every week as sort of a band. And
Yeah.
it's just as I tell everybody, whoever's here, it's just as much yours as it is mine. Like
Mm.
happenstancery is much bigger than just me. And I love that over the years we've probably had over like 200 people. I counted it one time, 200, 300 people like throughout the years just come to a practice for one night,
Oh,
or maybe for
okay.
a couple of weeks, or maybe for and I love that all these people from New Paltz and different workshops have gotten to come and try improv. So you're always welcome. And anybody listening to this, you're also welcome to come and give it a try some night.
I get a sense that you've got an easygoing camaraderie with the Hudson Valley Improv.
Yeah. Yeah. We totally support
Is that
what
an
they're
accurate
doing.
perception?
Yes, that's great. The Hudson Valley Improv, for folks who don't know, they have an awesome open mic as well that they do at the Boughton Place. Ed has been at before, and they've been doing classes here for years in improv. And you can get into their level 1 and 2 and 3 and move up the ranks like a lot of the great improv schools. And yeah, we do have a great relationship with them, and people from there will come and visit ours and kind of get a little sense of what we're doing, different fun events. And then we're always supporting what they have going on and all of their shows, because really I think we're trying to build an upstate New York community of actors, of troops, a real sense of supporting one another in all of the gigs. So we definitely are building those relationships with them, with serious comedy when it was in Beacon, with Blind Tiger improv in Ossining, and all of these people. I am always
Oh,
reaching
Blind
out.
Tiger. Yeah, yeah. Remember they had some type of event. Yeah, that's interesting.
Mopco in
Well then,
Schenectady. I want to get
oh yeah,
in touch
Mako.
with them
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Right. So I was gonna kid with you is that I seen that the Hudson Valley Improv they're doing a show at the Cave, which is near there in Rosendale, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was So you guys don't rumble like the Jets and the Sharks. What are these
Yeah,
guys doing on turf?
they're here. Let's approach them and snap in unison.
Well, maybe so. But I'm just out of idle curiosity. So it's a matter of they had an opportunity to book that venue, but I would think that you guys would have an equal opportunity to do that venue as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that show that they had did get canceled. I don't know if it ever happened. It was
Oh,
gonna be like a
okay.
murder. Hopefully, they do it again. That is
Okay.
somewhere I've always wanted to perform, and they
Yeah.
for folks who don't know, the Widow Jane Mine, yeah, they
Yeah.
do all sorts of fun stuff all summer long. We
Okay.
certainly could. It's a very fun spot, and, there's a lot of, happenstancery goals and dreams that when we really have a full troop together who's like,
Yep.
Tara and Topher and Dahlia and Anika have been like a really good group of five, and Charlie. We've all been like, all right, let's do some gigs. What's available? But when you can book stuff in advance and produce your own events and pay the fee to get the space and
Oh
produce
yeah.
stuff, it all is really great, and I think we're moving towards being more legitimate, because for now we tend to hop on to things that already exist or promote and do it at fun spaces like we're going to do at Stellar Yoga here in New Paltz, and
Yeah.
find people to pair up with who will support this dream. But I think together the sky is the limit. We supporting people like you and other improvisers, we can bring each other all to new heights and create a real scene around here.
Well, certainly there's strength and continuity to have put resources together, to use the term, because it's easy to be ignored, where then venues aren't going to necessarily book local performers. So having the opportunity to then to merge together and provide a strong lineup, whatever kind of show that you're doing, really helps keep um, makes it sustainable. I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about in fact, with the Rosendale Theater now, it's still in a kind of a hiatus state, if you will. And,
Yeah, the theater's actually under renovation right now, and we've done a
oh, okay.
couple of shows with Ed there, where we this theater right on my street here in Main Street, Rosendale.
Yep.
They are doing this work on the siding and finishing that up. But we've had a lot
Okay.
of great shows with Third Thursday there, folks, where we'll have
Yeah.
Ed and different comedians and
Sure.
actors, and Happenstancery would often host. Those were some fun shows, weren't they?
Oh, they are, and of course the thing that of course I can't don't have an understanding why, but it doesn't draw a lot of people. But I don't know if the Rosendale is really, well, I show the whole darn town has enough people to really fill a theater like that. So the people who
Yeah,
did attend, if there was 30 people in the audience, they had a great time.
they really did.
I just I it's not my business, so I don't know. And if you tell me, was it sustainable? Did it cover the bills for paying people to keep the theater open for that night and
Yeah.
run a show?
Yeah, I think that's always
Did?
what you're up against. And when you have a
Yeah.
place that is like, that theater, which is so, powerful when it does have a bunch of people in there,
Yeah.
that, this idea of a local curated open mic once a month, it was great, and it really was fun. And then
Yeah.
it turns out in the holiday months, the third Thursday is, you run into Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Oh yeah.
and
Sure.
winter months. So yeah, these things definitely, that theater is got so much potential. And when you really get these things together, if the community did come and support it, and put money in some of the artist bags, and give a little love and support and showing up, I think it would be a little bit more exciting for the theater to hold, because you never know. It's interesting. Sometimes different things work better. A straight up comedy night might be better than a music and this, or little things that you got to experiment and see what is the community really looking for.
Yeah. Well, as long as the venue operators are willing to allow you to experiment. Otherwise, a
Yeah.
small intimate space is fine. I'm looking forward to the space we are going to, Stellar Yoga, which I take it they have their own studio then, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
studio right in Main Street, New Paltz, and we did a show there on April 20th that was really fun. And yeah, it's an intimate experience for this, and we're strictly doing like people who go way out, are different than the norm, and kind of performance artists and
Right.
unique comedians and stuff. So we're really excited to kind of get that going off the road, and I hope we can tell lots of people about it and get a good showing. It's the students are back in New Paltz, so that's always a nice influx of energy.
Yeah, it's hard, for all the years that I've been doing this, to know when something hits and it draws an audience, then you can be successful at it. At the Tram in Utica, they draw all sorts of great, talented people, and they struggle to fill the place. It's a head scratcher. I just don't. It's hard to fathom why. If it's
Yeah.
you
You want to
could
know
come
what I
up
think's a
probably with
part
an
of
easy
it?
half dozen reasons to try to say why it doesn't.
It's one thing
But
I've noticed with the culture in general, and I wonder how you dealt with this, is since COVID, I know there's more people, even my own age, way more than your generation, are homebodies. They're literally people do not want to socialize. They don't want to. I mean, I want to see this change. I'm saying this from a place of concern because good friends of mine and people close to me, even you see that they just, I'm someone who loves when you get into a room with people and
Mhm.
connect afterwards and network and see artists at work. But people listening to this, do you go out and support local entertainment and comedians or actors or musicians or local bands, or do you just go spend 250 to see Billy Joel again at the Garden and these big guys, big performers, and see Leonard
Yeah.
Skinner again? And these are great people, but do you support live music? And why do you think this generation might be a little more introverted? Because I think COVID has a lot to do with it, maybe.
That certainly is a common thread with across a variety of institutions. Is that yeah, after COVID, people just became homebound, and it became a routine habit. You don't think of going out on a Friday night, so
Yeah.
it's not easy to reverse that trend. So I try to just I'm comfortable being pragmatic about it. Is that if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So you you could sit and commiserate about it all you want, but the fact is that it really the key, I think, Joe, is something that it's a hard learned lesson. But when you're a performer, is bulk of your effort is in the market
Yeah.
to get every conceivable soul you can connect with to come out. So I think of it as then it's a rule of 1%. So if you got a room that fills 50 people, you have to reach and ideally engage at least 50,000 people to get that
Yeah.
1% response.
Yeah.
And that's just
That's
the
so true.
reality of it. That's what it comes down to. So if you're a great marketer, I mean, you're I should say you're a dedicated marketer, because
Yeah.
marketing isn't that it doesn't take a lot of intense skill as it does just a lot of intense effort.
Yeah.
So you're doing social media posts, you're out performing, you're doing
Hanging up
events right.
flyers.
Yeah, so it's and that really is the key. It's not one particular element. You develop a beautiful looking flyer, but if that's all you're doing, posting flyers, that doesn't cut it. Same thing
No.
with the posting on social media. You can be a prolific social media poster, but if you're not also physically creating flyers to put up into bulletin boards physically for people to see, then you're missing out. So it's pursuing all of those channels simultaneously with as much sweat equity as you can possibly put into it to create a room full of people to see your thing.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced now that if you think of whatever your percentage of your time you're spending as a performer is, truly 40 to 60% of it is marketing. And
Mm,
there's the 30% of the writing and development, and the last 10% is actually performing.
that's so true. Wow. That's such a way to think about it. And how do you deal with that yourself? Do you do a lot of promoting and marketing and put that time
Well,
in?
that's the key, is that then if I'm producing a show, I have to plan it well ahead of time and then put all that sweat equity into promoting it and ensuring that the other performers that I'm inviting are also putting they're putting their agency into it. They're not coming just to they I'm not Joe or Jane Booker just inviting them to come to a venue that always fills up. They've got to put the work in themselves to make sure
Yeah.
that they're inviting people. Even just the notion of that, if you give someone, say, like two comps, that they optimize that, they really do bring two people with them. Because at least if there's three of you performing, that's six people that are going to be there.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so you got a fighting edge. And if you're doing it in a coffee house or a bar where the venue owner is getting the tab, then you're helping to ensure that they're happy with what you've done.
Yep.
So
Show
what you
business.
don't need is 50 people showing up who order water.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that even your comp people, to be, I guess, honest with them, is to say that you don't have to pay the $10 to get in, but it's certainly going to be a big help for you to order something.
Yes, get something off the menu or a drink
Right.
or
Uh,
support
yeah,
the
exactly.
place. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
it's really good talking with you about these kinds of logistical things because you've got the experience from years and years of different shows, and you've probably been in
Yeah.
every kind of environment.
Well, certainly had my fill. One of the most unique places I ever performed at was an open mic at this. It was a gay dive bar in downtown Schenectady. But so it would look like a biker bar from the inside and the outside. But there were rainbow flags, inside the bar, so it kind of clued you in. And they didn't have a normal stage. What they had was, Joe, is they had a men's room and a ladies' room on one side of the wall, and then they pushed the pool table between those two doors and put quarter-inch plywood plank on top of it. And then they had a jury rigged set of stairs they pushed up against the pool table. So you walked up on top of the pool table to perform between the two restroom doors.
People are walking into the bathroom on your left and right during your
it
set.
was, it's a, it was a, it was a bizarre experience, but it was a fun experience because the audience was easygoing about it. Just that
Yeah.
it stood out in my mind as a unique experience that I'll never repeat again in my life.
That's so cool. Every
Yeah.
show has some lesson in it and something to learn from it, you know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's the little things that occur. There was one time I did another open mic at an art center in Canajoharie, and someone had a service dog in training. Have you seen that, Joe? Where if the dog is in training, they got like an orange or a green vest, and it
Yeah.
does say
Yeah.
service dog in training. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was doing the balloon animals where you just blow up a round balloon, and then I tell the audience it's an amoeba. So blowing the balloon up, and the dog starts jumping up and wanting to play with it. And
That's
it
so
it
funny.
totally ruined the act because the dog is jumping around chasing after the balloon that I'm waving around. But but the audience loved it. They thought it was great. And
Yeah.
so it didn't matter what I did anymore. It kind of that all fell by the wayside, but it was very memorable on what happened. Dog loved it. The audience loved the dog, was loving it. And that was great.
That is so nice. Yeah, these little moments and sometimes those improvisational spur of the moment things are the best things to happen and make
Oh
those
yeah,
memories.
yeah,
Did you ever
yeah.
have like a horror story of anything on stage or it's just like the
Oh
worst
wow.
heckler?
Every per- every performer does. You can't say you're a true seasoned performer if you haven't had a hell gig or something similar. But I think the worst experience I ever had was eons ago. I got a call from another comedian who said he couldn't do a gig and he was going to offer it to me and it paid. So I said, okay. And he said, yeah, they pay $40 and a meal. And I said, all right. And he said, so it's a show. It's a beach fashion show. And in my young, unexperienced head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so they're gonna have like a fashion show where they're doing like runway exhibits of, I don't know, various types of beach overwear, Hawaiian shorts, coverall, whatever. So uh, I went to the gig, and it turns out it's a bar that was having a bikini night. And I'm the performer who's in the way of all the women coming out in the bikinis. And of course, they hated it. Oh, people were yelling and screaming. They're throwing pennies at me and lighted matches. They're
Oh
carrying
no.
on and throwing wadded up napkins. So
Oh.
after about, I'll say, I think I gave it like 4.5 minutes. I said, well, I guess I better get going now. And they all go, yeah.
Thank God.
So So I get off stage, and then I have to hunt down the manager, and I said, "What about the $40?" And he gives me this look like I asked him if he would sell his youngest daughter to me. So, needless to say, I did not get paid. In fact, I had to pay for the hamburger that I ate earlier.
Oh gosh. You owe
Yeah.
us
So
actually. You're not getting
yeah.
paid.
So that was one that was a lesson learned. Never accept an invite to do a beach fashion show.
Yes, I will note that, and I love that story, and I love, that you've got every kind of different crazy experience that there is when it comes to gigs and
Anybody
different
does.
places. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Who
Actually,
are some of
actually, a
your
funny one, Joe.
Yeah,
I
give
got
me
to tell
another
you
one.
this one. This one here was actually it's a funny anecdote. Is you're familiar with Spinal Tap and when they break up, and then of course
Yes.
there's the scene where they're walking into the festival and their woman manager goes, I told him once, I told him 1,000 times, it's Spinal Tap and Puppet Show. And the
Yeah.
sign says Puppet Show and Spinal Tap. Well, my first professional paid gig, the folks over at the Tram, they have their own puppet troupe. So they invited me to be the opener for their puppet show.
That's so funny. Puppet Show and Ed Smythe.
So it's Puppet Show and Ed Smyth.
That's so great. That sounds like a really cool spot. I want you to put me in touch with them. I hope we can, get
Oh, if
happenstancery
you
down
want to,
there.
sure. Yeah, if you don't mind driving out to Utica. Yeah,
Let
it's like any small coffee house. They don't have the ability to pay outright, but like we were talking about a few minutes ago, if you're hustling to develop a show and you're driving an audience to come attend, you can charge whatever you want at the door and collect the door
Nice.
fee.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool, and I'd love to hop on one of your shows out there and continue to see you grow and develop. I'm really
Oh, thank you.
excited to
Well,
see what
likewise.
you bring to the table on this upcoming show, Way Out.
Oh, yeah, yeah. This will be fun. Well, as I said, that I always enjoy coming out to your area. Saugerties, New Paltz, Rosendale. Obviously it's a college town, and
Yeah,
people are pretty hip. So it's you can do a lot of fun things, and people will go along for the ride.
that's
You know
it.
what? I forgot. I haven't talked to you since we were last together. Went with that. What was that Pirate Cove show that we did? A couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago.
What was that?
That was like at the end of June, right?
Yeah, what am I thinking of? Not where was it?
In New Paltz.
And oh, at the Snugs. Yes. Yes.
Snug Cove, yeah.
Snug Harbor. That was really
Right,
fun.
Snug
We had
Harbor.
a
Well,
good
I haven't
little
had a chance to talk with you since then, but I got pulled over in New Paltz just after I left.
Oh no. Oh my god,
No,
had
no,
you
no.
had a
It's
drink?
it's fine. I can tell you. I'll start off without any giveaway. Is it turned out benign? So I'm driving, and I know what happened. I'm driving along up. You know how when you get out of New Paltz, it kind of slopes uphill. before
Yeah.
you finally reach the throughway entrance.
Yep.
So I'm driving up, and I know that in college towns, you get kids who optimize their, or I should say, they fully exercise their pedestrian right of way.
Oh yeah. Late at night
Oh
in
yeah,
New Paltz, it's a parade on the street.
exactly. So I know what happened was, as I'm driving up the hill to the town outskirts, I'm tapping my brakes at every crosswalk and look and doing this because I know there's going to be some kid wearing all dark clothing who's just going to blithely walk out in the middle because they're the pedestrian and I should stop for them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going like this, like going, just, and I'm looking both ways. And so what it is, the trooper behind me pulled me over. So I've got nothing to be guilty about. He said, what did I have to drink? I said, oh, where did you come from? I said, the bar, Snug Cove. What did you have to drink? Water. When did you last eat? Oh, about an hour ago. What did you have? A banana. So I, there's nothing to feel guilty about. So I thought it was going to be an easy, stop. But then he made me go out, and I had to do the whole sobriety test.
Oh my goodness.
Count backwards. Walk toe to toe,
And you're going,
and then
okay.
and then he gave me a breathalyzer. It's almost like he wasn't quite sure if I was really holding it in that well that he couldn't detect anything.
He's like, I don't know. I don't trust this guy. Coming
So
from
I did the
Snugs.
breathalyzer, and I said to myself in my mind, but I wasn't going to say it out loud because I didn't want to cause any more problems for myself. I was going to say, so 0.0, right?
Yeah.
So, it was fine. It was a 10-minute delay in my life, but I thought to myself, that's so funny is that I did everything perfectly right. I did not drink. I did not speed.
You were
It was
taking
working
extra
out for me.
care to make
Yeah,
sure you didn't
exactly.
hit
And so,
anyone.
I got in trouble for driving too cautiously. I
One of our
suspect he was watching me with tapping my brakes and doing spinning my head back and forth, and I bet he was wondering if I was either looking to solicit someone or looking to be solicited.
Yeah, or just like acting, most people fly up that street and he's probably like, "What's this guy doing?" The funny
Right.
little anecdote, our friend Scott Benjamin, who also performed at that show, the magician, he tells a
Yep.
story. We'll have to have him on the podcast someday of having to do a magic trick for the officer to show him to get out of a ticket.
Oh, really?
Coming home late night from a gig. Yeah. So it's something us comedians will have if we are driving home from gigs late night. You never know what might happen, but I'm glad that you were safe and didn't have anything to drink, as always.
Oh no, I wouldn't have. That's to me, that's a cardinal rule. You can't drink when you're performing. You're just not at you.
Yeah,
You lose your edge.
absolutely. Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't even think of doing that. And even if I did, it would have been after I performed, and it would have been one beer.
Yep.
So yeah, I got over the decades, I think if I keep a tabulation in my head, I think I've been pulled over 8 different times without getting anything for it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
it's just being cooperative. That's all that
yep.
really is. That truly is half the game. If you're
And
belligerent, mouthy, then you're asking for trouble. You're asking for them to find something.
absolutely. And of course you and I tend to be in the demographic that gets a little less trouble from those guys.
Right.
But it's still, this being a comedian, man, the work that you do, Ed, it's so great to see and to actually get to know you a little bit more, that this way, beyond just the
Oh
character
yeah,
work and the scene study.
sure.
It's really cool.
Oh yeah, well likewise. Well, you guys have been very gracious about being staying connected, and of course inviting me to this show, and you know, uh, and then well, the Snug Cove was the other invite you gave me, and I
Yeah.
forgot if either you reached me or I reached out to you, but you had your birthday open mic at the New
Yeah.
Paltz Community Center, was it?
That was it. And I do that every year around January
Yeah.
27th. Yeah. And we've
Yeah,
had you
so
many a third Thursday
having that
too.
connectivity is important to me as well. I'm truly appreciative. It provides that level of validation across both sides.
That's so true.
Because
It,
if
it
you're doing it
feels
by
great.
yourself, you're kind of there's always that kind of lingering little doubt in your mind. Is am I doing? Am I making the connections? Is this making sense? Am I just flailing in the dark?
Yes, you are not flailing in the
Yeah.
dark. You are a big favorite of Happenstancery. We all talk about how much we love your set,
Oh
always.
well, I appreciate it. So I have. It's nice. Like anybody, any artist, you always hope to have, you build a solid circle of friends and audiences. So I appreciate it. You guys are part of the inner circle.
That's amazing. I'm so glad, Ed.
And
Well,
likewise.
life is good. Do you have any
Yeah.
questions for me before we close the show here with a little song?
Uh, yeah. I want to know how much time you want me to do on Friday.
I'm telling folks between 10 and 15.
Okay, I'll maximize it. If you give me 15, I'll close at 14 and a half.
Yeah. So that's it. If you want to take that, take your full 15, take your full 15. I'll give you a
Oh no, I appreciate it. Just that I always try to optimize it.
y-
I like with the musicians, you say, like a typical they say you say do 3 sets or 10 minutes, or 3 songs
yes.
in 10 minutes, and they're kind of loosey goosey. But if you're telling me 10 minutes, I've got my little timer. I'll wrap up at 9:45.
Awesome. You
Yeah.
respect the
So
light.
I never abuse it, but I will optimize it. Yeah.
I'm
And
telling everybody
appreciate that.
that, and I think it'll all work out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I certainly enjoyed working with you guys, and with Dagan. Did Dagan tell you that he and I we used to do shows together?
He didn't tell me that. And for folks who don't know, Dagan, who was mentioned way earlier, and I that was one little loose end. Him and I are doing duo stuff together, so we might have a little fun combo like that on stage. And yeah, he's the guy you met at open mics. You guys did something together, a little duo stuff.
Well, when you say duos, is I would look to try to produce some shows and invite him to them. And
That's great.
so he and I we did at least one in Albany. I'm trying to think if I invited him out to do one in Utica, but I know we did one more somewhere else.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and and it's oh, I know the Dorn Space, That's where it was. There's some
Mm.
people. I think I mentioned those to you before, but it now refreshes my memory again that I think Brian Dorn would be amenable to talking with you about having you guys come out. That's in Gloversville.
Oh, cool. Well, let's
Right.
definitely exchange the details about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and
So the
Dagan,
Dorn Space. So being out there in rural New York, fairly very rural, is that my how my material is, but
yeah,
if where I am, Dagan is like two more notches out there.
yeah.
So even then they were appreciative of Lovejoy, even though they weren't quite getting what he was doing and why.
That's so cool. Oh, well, that's the thing with him. He's one of the gifted absurdists of our time, and I love being
Yeah.
close with
And
him.
so,
And
I
me
used to
too.
couch it because I'm genuinely curious. I'd go, so Dagan, do you plan out what you're doing? And he said, well, I'll have a rough idea in my mind and I'll bring the props, but no, everything I do is ad lib. I said, well,
Yeah,
then God bless you, because I don't think I could do that. You
it's
can,
it's very
and you can
cool.
pull it off.
Yep, he sure does, and he's inspiring
Yeah.
me. So I'm
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
embracing my spontaneity here in this moment and on our show at
Well,
Way
you're an
Out.
improver. You're supposed to be spontaneous.
Spontaneity. Oh, Ed Smyth, thank you for talking with me.
How'd you come up with that rhyme?
You made Java Joe very jolly. Oh, won't you come do some comedy? Ooh, spontaneity. Ooh, play that at harp. Ooh, Joe's Java Jive. Thank you so much, Ed Smythe.
Thank you.
Closing words, one piece of advice for any up and comer comic.
I
You gave a lot already.
Ignore, stick to what you do best, and don't try to figure audiences out.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, brother. Peace and love.
Okay.